Welcome to Open Arms, an honest conversation about firearms. Hey everyone, I'm your host Brian Lockerman, and today in the studio I have Amalya. Amalya has some amazing stories to tell us about why she got into gun ownership. Welcome aboard, Amalya.
Thank you, Brian and Nikki and Kyle. I'm so happy to be here, and I feel very blessed that you invited me.
Well, we're really happy to have you here. Now, you were telling me some of your stories here. Can you just start us to why you weren't a gun owner, why you became a gun owner? What happened?
I was fearful of guns. If I saw a gun anywhere, I would say, "Can you put that away?" I just felt like it could go off. I was very nervous around guns. And then I was challenged. I had a life challenge in 2009. My children were going to a preschool in California, and these neo Nazis kept doing uh, graffiti. And I thought, what is next? I don't know what's next. Do I talk to my children? They were 2, 3 years old. Do I warn them about the dangers of a bad guy coming in with a gun? Do I tell them where to hide? And then I had PTSD. I did not go to a doctor. I did not use medication. I just diagnosed myself with PTSD because at night I would fall asleep for a year. And I had these thoughts of, am I going to go to the school and my children are bloody, God forbid? And these people are, what are they going to do next? They're starting with graffiti. And it turns out that the police department hid cameras. And when I went to the preschool, I looked for these cameras. I couldn't even see the cameras.
Mhm.
So they did a really good job. And they caught them. This was in the local
Oh,
newspaper.
wow.
They were in their 20s and 30s. So these were not, these were not teens. And
Yeah.
supposedly they were local neo Nazis.
Wow.
So that's what they were doing. And I thought instead of having PTSD and doing nothing about it or medicating myself or
Mhm.
going to a therapist, I'm going to do something and I'm going to learn how to protect my children and my family. And so I started getting highly professionally trained locally. Eventually, that led to getting my CCW, my concealed carry weapons permit. And I haven't been practicing lately, but from time to time I practice. I renew my license. It usually expires
Yeah.
by the time, it's only good for
Uh,
2 years and it's basically 18, 20 months by the time you have to get the new one. So I keep renewing it.
well, what's great to hear what you just told me is that you went out and got safety training first before you even brought that gun to your house. And you trained obviously for your CCW. This is what the show Open Arms is all about. We stress on safety, and I'm glad you did that. It's really, I commend you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's very, very nice. So, when you went on your first safety training, you shot your first gun, what was your feeling?
I was nervous. I have to say, years before that, I was with some friends on a trip in maybe the Palm Springs, Palm Desert area, and I remember them pulling out a revolver. I don't remember shooting it. I may or may not have, but I was very fearful.
Yeah.
And I might have gone to a range, I don't remember, but I would say frightened, fearful, don't like guns. I
Hmm.
wouldn't say I was full anti gun because I'm about freedom and I'm open minded to the way people think. I don't know what to say. I mean, if there was a dream world, it'd be nice to have no guns, no knives, and everyone just uses their love or their fists or
Yeah.
whatever. But I don't think guns are going away. I don't think
No.
ammunition's going away. So we have to deal with it. And my basic thought is the bad guys have them.
Hmm.
So I don't know, you know better than I do. I really haven't studied this much, but it seems the more laws that are being made, the more it's constricting and confining the gun owners.
Absolutely.
And the bad guys don't
100%.
listen to it.
100%.
Right?
You're right. You hit the nail on the head on that one. I mean, all the laws that keep passing in California, especially, do you think the criminals are doing the same thing? Ooh, I better abide by that law. No, no. I mean, it's just because we're law abiding citizens, we have to do that because we don't become a criminal. And that's the problem. But I really do think that what you have done is the right steps to get yourself trained and get a gun and bring it home.
Thank you. My other thought was, God forbid there was a situation with me or I see a crime going on. I thought, what if that gun, is not in the bad guy's possession? I have to know how to use it too. So that was my other thought is
Hmm.
I didn't know anything about firearms. So I thought in those situations, at least I know what I'm doing. And
Exactly.
saving those precious seconds to fiddle
Yes.
with it. Okay, I know what I'm doing.
Yes. And I tell people that even though you're not going to purchase a gun and bring a gun home, if you just get trained and learn, you never know when you might have to use that training, and that's a good thing. I have a good friend of mine who will never buy a gun or bring a gun in his home, but he believes in the Second Amendment,
Mm.
and he feels that that right everyone should have that right to own a gun, and he's been trained. I've trained him myself. So again, if he comes into a situation like that where there is a gun involved somehow, he's been trained, so it's a good thing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The other thing that happened to me is a lesson I learned at a very young age, starting in sixth grade. I thought that I had a really good life. I have great parents. I'm raised in a wonderful community, a lot of support. But my life lesson was that you really are all alone in the world. There's not usually people that's going to step up and help you. I mean, the most recent example of that is the Holocaust, 1920s and 30s.
Hmm.
People saw it coming. The whole world saw it was happening. They either went into denial, or I think what human nature is to preserve your own social standing in life, to preserve your job, your financial standing in the world. So I think people, what fear does is it really paralyzes people.
Yeah,
And so that happened to me in sixth grade, and then eighth grade, ninth and 10th grade. I was going to the local public school right down the street here. And I had these females being really harsh with me, wanting to hurt me. It was the strangest thing. These are people I did not know. And so I really started shaping my politics as well, because these people, eventually when they came up to me, I would hear the gossip. They want to hurt me. They don't like me.
hmm,
And this is like, who are these people? I don't know these people.
yeah,
Finally, at the public school, like in sixth grade, we're face to face. I heard this person wanted to hurt me, and we're face to face. I finally said, okay, what do you want to do? And I was scared. It's not like I want to fight, but I'm ready. And that person backed down. And it happened quite a few more times in high school. I realized that when you show strength, it's when the evil will walk away,
that's
because then
true.
they're fearful.
That is true.
So I
I
think that
agree.
also shaped me, that I realized not only am I alone in the world, I mean, my friends didn't help me, witnesses didn't help me when they saw these people trying to do things to me.
That is true. I always say that, you are your own person and you have to protect yourself. Quick question. You said you have children, correct?
Yes.
Now, did you have a gun in the house when you had your kids in the house?
So, yeah, there were most of the time raising my children, I have to say, I've had firearms in the house,
Okay.
and that did worry me.
Okay, but did you have the talk with them or show them, you know, the do's and the don'ts and give them a little bit of a briefing about a gun in the house or anything like
Well,
that?
at first they were so young that I didn't talk about it, because I thought, especially it's three boys and a girl,
Yeah,
they're going to be attracted to it. And I wasn't trained enough to know how to train them against
I
it.
understand that.
So I more hid it and kept it. I didn't keep the magazine loaded. I didn't keep it loaded.
Yeah, yeah.
So I would keep it in my car sometimes, because remember, I was coming out of a PTSD situation, neo
Hmm.
Nazis. I don't know what's next. So within that year, I got trained. So I did have it around, but hidden and not ready to go.
Totally understand. We do stress to parents, if they do bring a gun home, to have that training for the kids, have that talk with the kids, have one of our trainers, a certified trainer, come in and sit there with the kids and go through everything. It really makes a difference, and in that way there's no accidents that happen in the house. And I tell you, I've heard it way too many times. And that's why, again, the show Open Arms is so important.
Yeah, and I love the name Open Arms. But before I was going to say that, my three sons have been trained, just mildly with some friends.
Okay.
Like one was in the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces. So they've
Oh,
been mildly trained. So
nice.
they have an awareness. They're not at the age where they're curious anymore. So we're over that stage. It's just my daughter who should probably be next to be trained if
Okay.
she's interested.
Very good. Very nice. Okay. Now, another thing I know about you, you have a podcast yourself, correct?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. What's the podcast about?
So I call it Growth Factor, and you can find it on YouTube, and a lot of it gets censored, so I had to put it onto Rumble. So my
Okay.
show is usually duplicated on Rumble, but depending on the topic, I have to keep it to Rumble, because Rumble really allows the
Yeah.
freedom
Yeah. We
to
we
say,
we're learning that too as well.
yeah. And so the reason I started it is I was having a hard time, probably 2019, 2020, especially during lockdown. I'm very social person. I mean, people are my energy,
Hmm.
and I couldn't be locked down at home. And so even like I said, even before that, I started to get down. I had these very dark sense that I didn't want to be here anymore. And I was able to overcome that. I was studying spiritual things, and then I was studying food, because I'm a nutritionist, I'm a
Oh,
hypnotherapist, and I really believe in the vegan vegetarian way. It turns out it doesn't work for me. I had to grasp onto the carnivore way. I'm not a full carnivore because I'm not disciplined enough, but I feel that it changes the mental health and the gut health. And this doesn't just come from me, it comes from a lot of professors, doctors, people who espouse this way of being. And it has to do with reversing mental health, from schizophrenia,
oh yeah.
depression,
Hmm.
anxiety, OCD, anorexia, and bipolar. that these foods, these ruminant animals, seem to be what the body needs because the vegetables, most of the nutrients is coming out when you go into the bathroom. There's the lectins, phthalates, and oxalates that really can damage the gut and the mind. And so that's what was happening to me. So that's why I started my podcast is
Nice.
I thought if I'm able to save my own life or a lot of these physicians who help me, then maybe I can save one life at least because they could hear my journey.
There you go. That's my motto with the show too. If I could save one life, I know I did my
Oh,
job.
wow.
I
I
love
didn't
it.
know
I
that.
love it. So where can people find you?
So you can go to YouTube and Rumble. YouTube and Rumble, you'd probably
Okay.
have to type in growth factor or growth factor NDE for near death experience.
Okay.
Because my
Okay.
my show did start with I happen to have a friend in Oxnard, California who died surfing for 30 minutes. I know that's unbelievable. You know, the medical thing we say is you're brain dead in 4 minutes.
Yeah.
But he did last 30 minutes. He has all these witnesses, fire department,
Really?
EMTs, paramedics. So he went into that heavenly realm. And he's one of the first people that I interviewed. But I have a lot of interviews, friends or people that became my friend. But that began my healing process of having my gut and mental health issues is, okay, there is a higher power, whatever name you put on
Hmm.
that. There is a heavenly realm because I have quite a number of friends who've been there from a brief medical incident.
Yeah.
So I started my show that way. But it started moving into more carnivore eating because that healed my mind. As a matter of fact, one of my children, the doctor said, has IBS. And so it's because I raised my children vegan, vegetarian. I thought meat was bad, but now I feel meat is good for mental and gut health. So my show basically is that. And then the other part of my show, you can only be on Rumble, so I'm not going to say much, but I'm helping people that are recently damaged by the last 3 years of some things that happened. So my passion is helping them. I make no income from it. As a matter of fact, I lose a lot of money because I donate to them. Editing this show is 10, 20 hours
Oh yeah.
each show.
We know it.
And I just have a passion for these people that are injured. And so I give them a voice, I donate to them, I put them on my Rumble. And when I tried to put my story onto YouTube, they took it down. So I can't tell you much. All I can tell
Hmm.
you is my father was dying of that virus that came around the past 3 years. He was at the local hospital. They were treating him for pneumonia, which is the wrong treatment. You're supposed to treat someone for cytokine storm. So I pulled my dad out of the local hospital. I saved his life. We signed an AMA. My mom had to sign against medical advice. The nurse turned to me and my mom and said, if you pull him out of this hospital, it might not be covered by insurance because we're not approving this. And I said, bye-bye. Brought him to the doctor that I knew because I was studying this thing that happened in the last 3 years. I was studying it every day and I still do because I don't know what's next and I have to save my friends and family. And so this doctor saved his life. And I said, Mom, this is a miracle. I didn't know what I was doing. I said, I want to go to the follow-up. So 30 days later, I go to this appointment with this lung specialist that's just in Tarzana, California. And I said, what happened? And he said, these hospitals were treating people for pneumonia. They don't have pneumonia, they have cytokine storm. And so he used a rheumatoid arthritis medicine called Actemra or tocilizumab, and that saved my father's life as well as dexamethasone. So
Wow.
that's the other reason for my show is, wow, I got us on NBC. I reached out to I reached out to every top news person you can think of, and the only person I found was NBC that would listen, just to show, look at this. My father at the time was 78, obese, sedentary, prostate cancer, and AFib. How can a man survive this thing that just came
Hmm.
around for the
Hmm.
past 3 years? How can he survive that? God forbid, he's the type that should have lost his life, and he was losing his life. And this local hospital, I've lost 3 other friends. One's a doctor. I put him on my Rumble too to tell his story. He was 3 of my friends were killed at this hospital. So
Wow.
imagine how many thousands more. So that's the reason for my podcast too.
Well, that sounds amazing. You're doing some wonderful things. I really do appreciate what you're doing. It
Thank
sounds
you.
sounds just absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
So just real quick, to kind of switch gears a little bit again. Do you belong to any like organizations like the NRA, CRPA, or anything like that? As far as
Yes, I'm a member of the CRPA, the local Ventura County gun owners. I'm also, I don't know if I'm a member of the NRA right now, but I used to get their magazine, so I was.
Okay, great, great. I mean, the VCGO is fantastic.
Yeah.
In fact, we are going to be speaking at the event next
Oh,
Thursday.
good.
Yeah, we're going to have
Be
the
sure to be there.
whole Open Arms team is going to be in there. We're going to be just talking about what we're doing and everything like that. And that's a great organization. It really is. I encourage people to sign up for the CRPA because that's they become a member of the VCGO, which is fantastic. And they're the ones who are fighting for our gun laws. They're the ones who, whenever something happens, they are fighting it. They're getting their attorneys on it immediately, and I love what they're doing. It's great stuff.
Yeah, and I have to say, speaking of great stuff, that's how I met you. Going to these gun supporting groups. And the
Yep.
reason I do that is I want to be around like minded people. I can speak freely with you, Brian, and
Yep.
Nikki.
Yep.
So I need to be more around people like that, or because I'm very open minded. I understand being anti gun, I understand being pro gun.
Of course.
So I like being open minded. I need to be around people who can have both sides of the conversation.
I agree. I
And on the
agree.
way here, I was thinking, Open Arms, what a wonderful name of a show. It's Open Arms. That means we're pro gun, we're anti gun, we're open to hear whatever you have to say, and we'll accept it.
Exactly.
And those are the type of people like you, Brian, and Nikki, that I need to be around more. So I really appreciate your friendship. I appreciate the invitation. I just think it's the perfect name, and I hope you go really far with it. And if I can help in any way, I want to bring value. That's why I brought lunch. I'm always, thinking, how do I bring value to friendships and business? And I was thinking, what's the main purpose that I'm here? Why am I here? Not just to share a story, but I do have a coach. His name is Laban Ditchburn. He's called the world's best courageous coach. And he reminded me, what value can I add? And so what we talked about is the reason for my story is to tell all of you to claim your birthright. This is your constitutional right to protect yourself, especially if I think of the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. What happened in Germany?
Yeah.
People didn't have that right, and they
Nope.
got sent straight to ovens, or they got thrown into ditches. They had firing squads. So for me, we have to learn from our history. Again, I come from a background of being afraid. I didn't want to be in this position. I was forced into this position. So I think it's all about your right. And so that's what I can add to all of you listening right now.
Absolutely. You did very well for yourself. I can tell you that right
you.
now. Absolutely amazing. Well, Melissa, thank you very much for coming on our show today. I really do appreciate you here. I'd like to maybe bring you in on another show some other day and talk more about gun safety training and things like that. Maybe get you out to our range and have some
Yes.
fun. But again, I really appreciate what you're doing. I think you're doing a great cause out there. And again, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you. I really, really feel blessed to be here.
All right, guys, that's our show for today. And please go to our Instagram and follow us. It's openarms_defense training. Also, go to our YouTube channel, Open Arms TV. Click that like button, comment, and subscribe. That's our show today. Thank you, everybody. And always remember, safety, family, and the Second Amendment. See you later.